some dealt with it, right?
We
But
did.
down our way, my
Here you're all on. You're live.
Are we gonna?
So Ben, if you're here, Amy's here, where's the other ones?
They're big now.
They're what?
I said they're big now.
They're big now.
Isn't
Right.
that nice?
Isn't that nice?
The game changer.
We don't get to take any of this.
I know.
They say, not on emergency. Can I talk to my mom?
No,
They know my story.
that was so funny that she just looks over at me with this hair.
I'm like,
Thank you.
He's holding me warm.
this is the competition before we start.
It's fun. I can sit back and hold and laugh about that.
Sometimes when it doesn't work in the past,
Surfing on me, I got to stretch my legs.
All right, we'll call to order. Please stand for a pledge of flag and short pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, we ask that you guide us in our decisions to best benefit the residents of Osnaburg Township. We ask that you keep all our personnel safe and sound as they go about their business for the township. And we ask that you send some warm weather. Amen.
Amen.
Anybody have any changes to the agenda?
Nope.
I've got something to add in old business for Succo's Park.
Do we need any,
No, just a,
do we need any, executive sessions for fire?
I don't believe so.
All right. Brian? All right, we'll move on to meeting minutes from 5/28/2024.
Trustee Griffith recommends that we accept the minutes as presented.
Trustee Varian, second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Next, we'll move to the treasurer's report.
Trustee Varian moves to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
Trustee Griffith seconds.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, we will be stopping at 8 PM for a hearing on solar language change to zoning. So we're gonna go to public speech, but I only have one, that's Ben Parker, and you have for solar, so do you wanna wait till then? All right.
Okay.
Rick, do you have anything other than,
Hi, Rick, how are you?
Do good yourself.
Good.
let's move to fire.
All right. I have a couple of things that are not on here. It's been a long weekend. I have a letter of resignation from Kyle Ledger. We had actually hired him not that long ago, and he is getting so many shifts at Mogador that he doesn't have time to come down. I've talked to him a couple times, and he just does not have the availability. He never actually worked a shift for us, but I do have that.
Do we have any cost in him, or
No.
are we even?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Did we get gear?
We didn't buy him gear.
Okay,
He fit in
great.
something that we had.
All right.
The AC is again not working at the station, so there's two separate units at the fire station. One is for like the meeting training room, and one is for the like offices. The one for the offices is working. The one for the meeting room is not. had an issue with it. I feel like last summer we had an issue with it. And I don't remember who we had come in and service that.
Zorn.
Zorn.
Zorn,
Is the
that
compressor
was-
kicking on? You know, is it spinning?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. All right. Before we move on to the AC, let's do this resignation. Trustee Varian would like to move to accept the resignation from Kyle A. Ledger on June 10th, 2024, effective immediately.
Trustee Griffith, seconds.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye. I can call Zorn tomorrow and get them out to service or check. Is that all right with everybody?
Yep.
Okay, I'll do that for tomorrow.
You got phone number?
Yes,
All right,
I do. I saved them on my phone last time.
all right.
The next thing that's not on here, we had an issue with our power cut. We ended up having Stryker come out. We were in luck. They were in Plain Township. He came out, he fixed the bracket. It's the bracket that we need when we transition over to having a load system. He was able to just fix it for us. We actually took it to Louisville and tried it in their system and it is fine. But when he came out, he said that the adapter kit that we thought we needed to put it in the new system, we don't need. So we're gonna save like $2,900 because he came out and looked at it and he's not charging us for coming out and fixing the cot. So that was a wash. But we're saving like $3,000 on retrofitting that cot.
That money's already been allocated, so let's not do anything until we make sure.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Wait,
that's fine.
Because that money's part of your
It's just
American
sitting in there,
Rescue.
yeah.
Because
So
we thought that's what we thought. We thought we would need it.
Yeah.
He came out and he said, no, the cot we have is perfectly good to go into a load system. And they went and tried it today.
I'm
So,
sure we
Okay.
can find something else to
oh, I'm not
put
worried.
in the ambulance.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
Brian, do I sign that?
That's,
Thank, I don't know if somebody else signed it already. Thank you. Yeah, let's wait until we'll make sure it all.
No,
fits.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. They did,
Great.
Assistant Chief Ruskin actually took it over to Louisville today. So we know that it works.
Great.
We had an issue yesterday. They managed on the way to the call to hit the passenger side mirror on a telephone pole, broke the mirror and the passenger side window. I sent the incident report to all of you guys. We did call Otarma. I'm waiting to hear back from them. I have the report. I have the police report for it. I have all that information.
I
That
do-
is all that was damaged.
I do have the report.
And it was on the way to the call.
They
Sirens
the
were
way to the
on.
call.
We had Louisville come and transport the patient because we were out of service.
Canton Township transported the patient.
Canton Township.
Because they didn't have the patient on board yet. Yeah, it was for like. a
Okay.
foot.
And Township we're mutual on, right? So like,
Yeah.
so we won't get a bill from them?
Should not.
Okay. Okay. And so right now, 255 is out of service. All right.
That was the only damage. Neither one of our personnel was injured.
Okay.
But they did break the mirror. and
So
window.
mirror and window.
So
Correct.
what do we do with that, with the driver? Do we give them some training? Do we?
So we've not had a policy on that. Specifically, like we've not had one for like a drug test or for remedial or any of that. So
We should probably come up with a policy, and in
Sure.
fact, it probably should be after one incident this, after two incidents.
What happened?
they were on their way to a call, and I don't know if they got over too far, but they hit the mirror.
Well, I know they hit
On a
the
telephone
mirror,
pole.
Yeah, on a telephone pole.
but that's pretty close to the pole.
I would agree. Unfortunately, some of our roads are not that, but they were on Indian Run, so they were on.
Oh, did they hit the one that sits almost on the road at the top?
And it hit the one
There's-
right before you get down to Hill Church.
Before you get.
Yes, that is the one.
That's the one.
That's the one.
We've come
Okay.
close to hitting them before.
That's had a lot of people
It's
hit
too
it, there's
close.
chunks out of it.
Yes, they
Oh,
sent
it's,
me a
it's
picture
all
of it.
scarred up.
Yeah,
So
we
that-
probably need to,
That's the one.
AEP pole?
yeah, it's an AEP.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a powerful.
I wonder if we can call and just say, hey, we've hit this a couple times, guys. It's time to move it.
Yeah, you give them a call and
I
just
wonder if
tell
we
them,
can do that.
you have to move the pole back, because it's not, it's in the, it's like almost on top of the road.
I mean,
And it's leaning in.
yes. That-
I mean,
they
you would
sent me
assume when it
pictures.
went in,
That's
it was,
funny.
you would assume when it went in, it was set setbacks. But.
No, it isn't.
No.
All the rest of the poles are probably back at least, what, a foot and a half, Stu? In that
Or
one.
more. I
Okay.
don't know why that pole is out so far.
That
So,
is literally the one.
We come very close to hitting it many times. You really gotta watch, if you're passing right at that pole, it's another car.
so Randy, do you want to call them and complain? Maybe AEP will cover
send you the
something?
pictures that I have from yesterday.
Because their pole's setting out too far.
Yeah, let
And
me have
do we-
pictures.
Yeah.
Do we need to try to push Otarma to try to get this back in service quickly? How often have we had both squads out?
I mean, some,
Some? Okay,
as soon as they reach out to me,
okay,
I mean, they have been super efficient. With the issue with the engine has not been them. It's been
it's been.
getting what we need. to
Yeah,
fix
so they're
it.
fast.
So they
Okay.
are. I
Okay.
would think to fix the passenger side window and the mirror, we
Yeah.
should be.
Well, and it's a Chevy van. There's gazillions of them on the road. You know, it's not like a weird, the pump truck is a fire truck
I
with
would agree.
with a lot less parts.
We ought to just run out and get the pole number.
Dispatch,
Yeah.
It's a lot
it's,
easier to
it's
get
in
the
the,
pole number.
Where's it
dispatch,
at on Indian
Was
Road?
it in the notes?
It's
yeah,
right
it's
before you
going
get
down
to
Indian Road,
the,
right
by the
before you-
Van Boris
send
Farm,
AEP
right before
to
you
it,
get to Hill
inspect the
Church where
pole,
it hits
to make
Indian
sure there's
Run.
no damage.
All right.
And it has that real sharp.
Right.
I'm sure I'll probably be able to tell once I
So-
get out there.
Yeah,
You
So
can't
per-
miss it.
So when Otarma,
just past Borals.
All right.
so what Ben's referring to is when the incident happened and Otarma was called and the sheriff was called, they
The
also,
sheriff was called, the dispatch also called AEP
Mhm.
to have them go inspect the pole with the pole number as part of the report.
so the poll number's in the report. So there you go.
That's
This is
good.
what happens when Ben's home with my radio. And I'm like, why?
Ben's on the radio. So there's the poll number is in the report. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But the power company will want to know that.
Yeah.
Not the insurance company.
The last thing I have on here is the skid pump.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we tabled that. That's why you asked about that, didn't you, Randy? Because we didn't talk about it last time. Okay, so this is where we are. These are the facts to be presented for the pump insert. So to give a little bit of a background, and we kind of came across this what Amy and I were talking. The last real skid pump that we had for the grass truck was sold when it was too old and retired out of the old
So
truck.
when we sold the old truck, we sold the skid pump separately. Indian Run bought that. That is
Indian
where
Run
it's that area.
Church bought it,
Yes,
so they use it to
to
water.
water their garden.
So I asked, I said, where is that? Where is the one that was the original
That was
factory one, right? So was that
well,
one?
that was an insert in the
Yeah.
old truck. That was
Okay.
old 249.
Okay, so when we got the F-350 that we have now, what went in it when we bought it?
It was more of a skid like for water and stuff.
was like
It
a
wasn't
garden-
Fire.
No.
It was like a
It wasn't
garden
fire.
supply.
Yes. a
Okay.
fire.
Okay.
Correct.
So then after that, we decided that we were going to build the pump that Stu
That's
and
in it now.
Randy, it's in
Yes.
it now, that we got the pump, built the tank, things like
Yes.
that. Okay. So these are some of the kind of the facts of the story, and that pump is not very old, and so we really have to make sure that we're spending taxpayers' dollars wisely. So
Correct.
one of the concerns in the current status of the pump that's there is the gallons per minute that the pump produces. So it's way better than what was in there, but it's not what is typical in a grass truck.
Correct.
So it's 50 gallons a minute when a grass truck's 300 gallons a minute. Is that correct? And the old one was like less than a garden hose.
Yes.
The old one barely. You could throw a cup of water on it faster.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. One of the other concerns is, and it's not, I mean, it is what it is. It's a single wheel truck. The weight capacity of the water in a full tank
It
Is
is, that truck is at capacity.
pretty much at capacity. I mean, the helper springs are touching. But if there's half a tank, there's no baffle in it.
Correct.
So if you're at a half a tank and you stamp on the brakes and you're going to roll through it.
Yes.
And so those are some of and the foam. We don't have the foam.
Correct.
We can suck from that tank though, that pump, can't we? Can we suck from a tank?
It has an intake, yes.
Okay, so it has an intake. The skid that Dan bought or got from the Govs, paid for, I'm sure, from the Gov deals is an insert skid. It's 300 gallons a minute. It's less water capacity,
Correct.
but it is baffled. It does have foam. It's a Honda engine, so it's a used unit, but it's been refurbished. And so the question on the table is do we stay with the pump that we built, which was not too long ago, the bigger capacity and the less gallons per minute without the baffle, without the foam? Or do we decide to remove that, use some of those parts around the township? I don't know if Suey can use the pump in a scenario, or use the tank in a scenario, or we sell some of that? And do we purchase the more factory style? After talking to Dan a bit, that's really all we need is the insert. I mean, it would be strapped in with ratchet straps and hooked up. The hoses are all the same. The nozzles are all the same. None of that would need to be purchased. So that's really the question at hand. So
How much did we pay for the one that's currently in there?
I think we had about $2,200, $2,500
Is
bucks.
that the one you guys put together?
yeah,
That's the fire rated pump. I'm trying to look it up right now.
and what was remind us again, what was the number that Dan was looking to get out of the skid?
5,100
Okay.
is what is in it.
All right.
And the other thing I would ask is how many times have we used or needed to use that?
What did we do, 29?
So we said, 29 times.
We
it's
did
gone out.
29 grass truck runs.
So open burns, grass fires, things that we would use that truck on.
It was last year.
Correct.
And that
Over
was,
a calendar year or?
that was calendar year, 29 runs. And then that's not including,
Like we take it out
Tree-
on other stuff.
yeah,
Trees
tree
down,
removal.
power lines down. It's not that because we're obviously not utilizing the pump for that.
Right.
hi, come in. So I would say the big ticket items are the capacity with the water load, the baffle in the tank, the option to run foam, and the gallon per minute pump would be probably the big ticket items.
What would you be using the foam on? Is it like a car accident or something or?
No, so that would look like hay bales on fire or something where we're trying to like suppress that. We would not run that truck on a car fire. That would be our engine.
And how many, in that 29 runs, did you have anything like that last year?
Anything where we would have used foam,
Yeah.
probably some, certainly not the 29 times it was out, because some of those are open burns, so
Okay.
people burning when they should.
This is
Yeah,
just a-
probably most of them.
This is just a quick question because I'm curious. I'm talking about this. Do you guys have any training on electric car burns?
We do,
Okay, I'm just curious.
yes,
They're hard to put out.
yeah, you
You pretty much watch it burn.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just curious.
And then my other question is, how quick is he trying to sell this?
That I don't know the answer.
Because right now, I think we're kind of low on fire.
Well, and so I thought this is a separate question from this specifically. When do we start seeing the money from the levy? Was that March or is that June? Like,
Brian will have to answer.
not
I
that we're
think-
like rolling in the money, but when
I
did we
think it
start to
comes
see
in
that?
small pieces over a period of time. We don't get it all up front.
Understood.
I don't know. He would have to answer that. for
Okay.
sure.
Well, and as speaking with Dan too, he was very cool. I mean, he's not pushing this. Like he said, if the fire department decides that, if the trustees decide they don't want it, I'll just put it on Gov Deals
Right.
and I'll sell it to somebody else. You know, but if you decide you want it, then I'll sell it to you for what I have in it. So I don't think he's in a hurry.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion. I don't know. So if we told him that we were interested, but it might take a few months to get paid for, you know, he may be fine with that. I'm speaking for him right now. I shouldn't.
Why couldn't we turn around then and sell the current one that we're not going to use anymore on?
You could.
You could. So we can either get more information and table. I can talk to Dan more. We can have more discussion. What do you guys think?
I want to see some pictures of it or something. I want to see what we're buying.
Sure. It's at the station.
All right.
You're welcome to touch. It's
Yep.
there.
Well, even though it's 5,100, if we can sell the existing one, and that would help reduce the cost of that one, then, you know, cover some of that cost.
Yeah. All right, I think we had good discussion. Excuse me, I think we table it for now. Get some more info. Randy and I can go up there and take a look at it too. If
But I
everyone
say
will
we're
reach out.
definitely interested.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
34 calls, 2 assists from Louisville, 1 assist to Sandy Creek. That would have been a tanker. But I'll be honest, our staffing, we're having staffing issues, and it's not getting better anytime soon. So just so you guys are aware of that, we're not the only ones, but we are having staffing issues. So I'm working on trying to figure out how to either incentivize or whatever the case may be. Tomorrow night after training, I'm planning to talk to our members after VMS training and see if they have thoughts on covering shifts. Or part of our problem is people getting mandated at their other job, which hurts us because they don't either have an option or they're being offered overtime at their other job, so they're just simply not turning that down. So those are some of the things going on, but just so you're kept aware, like we are having issues. So
And everybody's having issues.
they are.
Is this something that could be possibly talked to the Stark County schools about adding into these vocational spots?
Yeah. I mean, like.
I mean, is that possible that they could start, is that a starting point for a junior, senior in high school?
Our kids can. The kids from East Canton can go into the program.
The county has a program for.
They have two. One's through Glen Oak and one's through Perry, and they end up at Stark State. So, I mean, the kids at Osnaburg schools have that option.
Yeah.
And I'm more than willing. I mean, I go to the schools for, career day. I go to the schools for all of those things. So I show up and,
Well, and one of the things that Chief Parker and I talked about is that we there's lots of conversation. We talk fire district, we talk all these things. It's a lot of conversation and it's big decisions. But Amy and I talked about the chief at NIM, Schillen, is now new, different guy there, and for a little while, the last person there wasn't as interested in working together, but the guy there now is a little more interested. But we talked about even if there's almost a primary mutual aid, so that if every time the bell rings, Amy's not running from home, because that's what's happening is there's one person at the station and it's Lindsay or somebody, and there's a fire or an accident that comes in and feels like she has to go to get it covered. If we had a primary mutual aid like a NIM, now they've got 7-8 full-time people, so it's we almost have to, it's like a big brother, big little sister type of thing. We have to make sure that we are providing service to them as well. And I'm speaking out of turn a bit because we haven't talked to them, Michelle, but a conversation like that as our chief would not worry so much if we're not staffed and that bell rings, she knows there's a primary. I don't know what it looks like.
I don't know.
We don't know what it looks like,
either,
but we had
to
talked
have
about
some of those conversations.
maybe speaking to Mr. Kiko and the team over there, and possibly having a conversation about that. And not we would still be us and they would still be them, but when the bell rings, we can help each other. That might be a possibility. So we're gonna keep talking about it. You have on your list discuss. That we already did. I'm sorry.
I think that's everything.
Okay, great. I'll call Zorn and then call you. I'll just probably send them over. Is the washer and dryer installed and then?
They are, and they're working fabulously.
Great.
Thank you.
Is the scrap metal one gone?
They're not, but I'm going to coordinate with Gary.
Great.
We're gonna get it.
We have contact there. I just didn't want it to sit in your way.
Nope, it's not. It's
Okay.
not in the way,
We
and
got
I've
it.
had conversations about getting that for you.
We got a hold of Terry Bailey and his scrap ministry, and Amy's working on getting that to them. Groves said, great, if you've got somebody to do it too.
Yep.
So,
What's the deal with the highlighted?
Just that's the address that we have been frequently. Yeah, so I've been keeping track of it. And we've had that conversation. So I've just been keeping track of that.
And it's going to be on there more because there's 40 units there.
Oh, this is the.
this is the Hope project.
Okay.
And the number is the unit number, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
department.
yeah, 210.
Yeah, you're starting to track that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chief Parker.
All done?
Well done.
All right. Got 5 minutes for the road report.
Already got the cemetery.
Or
Oh,
cemetery.
I can do that in less than 5.
Go ahead.
I talked to Ryan last week. Everything's been mowed prior to last weekend. I know we're running a little bit tight. He had a few calls. He's working with some families on some lots. Also, there's a footer that he's working on with the resident of replacing that footer. He didn't get back with me on the final, but I think he's going to take care of it, like with the footer project that he works on, but it probably won't be till fall. but I'll confirm that. And I told the resident I would call them back on my end, because we may need some help with the township, possibly with hauling some dirt or helping out with digging out a footer, a bad footer. But Ryan will then install that footer. So that's the only major project that I know of that we're working on. Other than that, I got Jimmy Beck's company is on kind of a hold here a little bit. They're gonna wait because he knows he's limited on how many times he can mow the rest of the year because of financial, not having enough funds there until we have some additional funds come in. So
All right.
that's all I have and all Ryan had.
All right. Now you got 3 minutes.
Go for it, Stu.
All right. If the trustees have read over the road report, is there any questions you'd like to ask?
Thank you for putting up the sign at the park.
Yeah, it looked
Yeah.
great.
Good job.
If it looks good.
Looks good, yeah. And it's nice and sturdy.
Yep.
Thanks for doing that.
I wanted to check with you guys, this just happened today, but we need to take truck 201, one of the big dump trucks.
Mhm.
Needs to go up to R&B's to have the air conditioner looked at. It's not working. And that truck is very hot. It's worse than 204 when,
That's a good weight loss program.
yeah, I'll tell Rodney that.
Well, he was here.
It was here, yeah. It's all right.
Yeah, he's nice.
Sounds good.
It needs looked at though.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you up there in Indian Run, where they have that tree out front, there's like a limb broke off hanging down. Is that tree on us or not? The tree out front by the road.
I know. I can't remember. I thought that wasn't.
I thought the line was the tree. Just if you get a chance, check it out. If it's us, we want to probably move that limb off of there before it falls on somebody. If it's not ours, then we can't do it.
What did you find calling Wheeling Lake area about Osnaburg Street?
I talked to a young man that said they are willing to help send guys out if we would happen to do something, flaggers and stuff.
Okay,
That's usually like 1,500 for like an 8-hour period, but he says he's willing to waive that, for their guys, if they need the help. He said, normally we would want you to stay back 25 feet, but he says as long as, there's somebody there and everything, and we're gonna do it and do it right, that we're able to come up within 5 feet of the tracks and even work on in between the tracks.
oh, he'll let you work in between the tracks?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yes.
okay. As long as you get
We just have to,
permission.
notify
Yeah.
them if that time ever comes and.
Yeah.
And then we'll work something out.
Okay. And I assume if you're physically working close to the road tracks, you probably want to know your traffic
We
on the
always,
tracks.
yeah, we
Yeah,
always
you
call
wanna know
them
what's
if
coming.
we were gonna be working around the
Yeah,
tracks
okay.
like that, because they told us they want us to do that, so
Alright.
they know.
Okay.
Because they usually let us know when the trains are coming down through to go to Carroll.
And did
We
we
try
get,
to pick a day where there's nothing going on.
did we hear anything back from anybody about the Osnaburg Street and what's happening in the future? Did we hear anything back? Did we call anybody more? I don't know if we talked to anybody about closing it or when it's happening or anything like that.
There's nothing set in stone. There
Okay.
maybe towards fall
Okay,
there'll be some action, but
gotcha.
nothing
In the near future.
in writing just yet. It's the process is still moving.
Okay.
Mr. Lowry gave me a sheet here from Cargill that has to do with our bid tabulation for the new price on, is this, Brian, for going into 2025?
It's 24.25, but
25.
if you look at the far right column, they all have it. Look in the far right column, that's the proposed amount that Cargill approved. And they approved, but they have to officially do it on the June 21st meeting.
That's the 43.70.
Yeah, that's what we'd be paying. And just,
Instead of almost $68.
yeah,
So
So if we were to fill the bin next year, like prior, like depending on our condition, if we empty that bin out, it'll cost us about $30,000 less. I figured that out
Okay,
with that pricing.
Would it be the one that says convey for the conveyor?
No, we don't pay that.
We don't, that's paid separately.
Okay,
Yeah,
oh, this
that's
is,
why we're
this
just
is
going
built,
by the
this one's
dump.
built in.
Just
Okay.
salt
Yeah.
dump,
We gotta allocate.
which is the
tons.
top.
what's
So we
that?
have to figure out how many tons.
We
okay.
already did all that. We have 500 tons that we have allocated, but we can use up to a percentage over that.
Right.
For as long as we have that amount, you know,
We're good.
it's, I believe it was, I figured on the low side is 300 ton. On the high side, you can go up to a little over 1,000 ton. I think it was 1,100 ton.
All right,
Just depends on how much we use, how much we're gonna use.
all right. Is that all you have?
Is that all?
Stu?
That's all I
You
got.
don't need to spend any money.
All right. With that, we're gonna move to the solar potato one. We're gonna move to the solar hearing. We got some residents that would like to speak, but I think Mary, do you want to go through it, read it, or tell us about it, or?
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
talk about it first.
So currently in our book right now, we have what's called principal and accessory solar. So like attached to a house or something, or just by itself. What we have in front of us is to replace that. And it goes into a little bit more detail than that, just principal and accessory. So it defines like each type of solar system. And then for integrated, which would be like on the siding or anything like that. And for rooftop solar, we would permit it in everywhere in the township. For ground solar systems, so ground mounted solar systems and other solar systems that are bigger than that and less than 50 megawatts, which is our cutoff point, we would have a conditional permit for that. Anything above 50 would have to go through the state process.
Okay, anything above 50. goes through
Anything
state.
below 50 would have to go through us for a conditional permit.
If it's on the ground.
Yeah,
If it's on the siding of the
ground.
roof, it can be approved through your zoning office.
But if it's sitting
Okay.
on a pole, not attached to a structure, then it has to come.
Have to come before the
Yes.
board.
Or it has certain requirements it has to meet.
Okay,
And under that ground mounted, which would be under conditional, we did have an exception for like solar cameras, fence chargers that have like a 100 square inch.
oh, got it. Like an accessory that's powered by solar. Yeah, okay,
Little light path markers, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
yeah, I understand.
So this is really intended to pick up the gap that the state has left since they're only regulating over 50 megawatts and higher. And so this will pick up the, under that we currently didn't have anything for.
So Mary, if I come in and say, I want to put a solar something in that's over 50, you say, here's the state phone number, you have to go through them?
Mhm.
Does it then come back to us for approval, or it's all depending on the state at that point?
Well, remember, we signed up under Stark County,
Mhm.
and that was addressing those large 50 and higher can't come in for those who agreed with that.
We
Without,
voted to not allow it.
Yeah, we voted to not allow it.
yeah,
Right. Okay.
I know for state ones, from what I was told by their little overview of it, they do have one. If it would come in the township and like spread a couple townships, they have one township representative from whatever townships are in there.
Okay.
So that's one for however many townships, not one for each township.
All right. Anything else you want to add, or is that pretty well it?
That's pretty well.
All right, we're gonna go to the public speaks. We're gonna give you 5 minutes.
There you go.
to state your opinion, ask questions, whatever you want to do. I've got a timer here. Are you going to use
Yep,
yours?
yeah, I can use it, yep.
And the first one up is Ben Parker.
All right, so totally thought this was different when I was coming up here, but of the things that we're talking about here, just reviewing it, how did you pick the figures for 30% coverage for integrated solar rooftop as the limitation?
Well, this came from the Ohio Township Association from the state of Ohio, and their attorney for the state, which is who we belong to, went through and developed a template. And so some of this is off their template. Some of it, I believe the zoning commission changed. Is that correct? Yeah. So they took their template and then they revised it, they thought, to fit our community.
Okay, so why do we know why we're deciding that you're gonna limit 30% on an integrated system, which just means it's covering residents because it's built in? Like these systems are designed so if you've got like a roof, your roof is a solar roof. So
Right.
why does it make sense to say only 30% of the panels on a roof can be solar panels?
So I think the idea of 30% was to include like walls or the roof too, and include all of the,
Yeah, I don't think it was just the roof, wasn't it?
Is 30% of the surface of the house?
It says here, no more than 30% of the structure's walls and or roof is applicable. So
Yeah.
how do we
Some
do
of it.
has anybody determined that is a roof more than 30%?
Well, the way this language is written is if you're only looking at the system and it's of a roof, then it's only 30% of the roof, not 30% of the walls or roof or windows, since they're now developing photovoltaics that can be in windows.
Which section are you on?
C1,
General
back
coverage.
to the second page.
They've designed what now? Windows?
They've got windows. Yeah.
I've never seen that.
So I guess maybe my whole statement is going to be a problem with just picking boiler template language that is in an industry that's changing so quickly. So that was the one I had, and then from the 5 minute to at least think about why you're deciding what you're deciding. And then the second one was that I noticed on here for the language that you're adopting is requiring a bond of 110% for the estimated cost of restoring a parcel of ground where a small energy storage facility is. Like I think about the places, so 50 megawatts, which is what we're talking, this covers underneath is 50 megawatts, is still 100 plus acres. Like I think it's just looking it up, 50 megawatts can be up to 500 acres is kind of where that starts. There's a lot of places.
Oh, 400, I mean, I think that's questionable there, but
But it's so it's somewhere in that range.
It's a
large amount of land
it is.
that we're talking about here. And part of the goal of what we would be looking at as a community, I would think, is to be able to take advantage of the land that we have. So I think about all of the strip mine land that we've got that's sitting there that is really not super useful other than maybe
Right.
pasture land. That would be great for putting solar panels on. We're doing agrivoltaics. We're
Right.
doing other things that are underneath the caps that you guys have specified here. And from a farmer, let's say we've got, because of the stuff that they're doing in Washington Township, we've got a place where they're saying, hey, we're planning to put this in for 40 to 50 years. And now we're going to make that person who's got that land that's really not beneficial to the township anyways, and is going to be generating revenue. We're going to force them to pay between 2, 5, 6% yearly for a bond to be able to pay for that at the end of that 50-year kind of life cycle. Just increases the cost of a project that's beneficial to a community because it's helping generate income, helping generate electrical or grid redundancy or resiliency for people locally here. So I guess I got a question on
That's the
that.
economic side of it, but there's also a side of it of how it impacts those around them, the neighbors, and the hazardous waste that the solar panels create. or
Is it
create.
hazardous waste?
From what we're told it is, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to validate it. But this is the township's first attempt to come up with a better plan or better rules than what we have. Are they going to be perfect? They're not. And they can change along the way. And this also leaves anyone that's, for instance, you were talking about the roof of the house amount. Those are the guidelines that are set here, but it doesn't mean you can't challenge it. You can go to the BZA and say, hey, I'm building a house and my roof is this much, so why can't I have more? So it's not saying you can't ask. You can apply and go there and show your case. And that would be with any of this. This is not exclusive. No, you can never do that. It's showing you have to show justified reason why, and a board of your peers has to rule that, you know, they understand what you're asking for.
Okay. If you're making statements and zoning statements like this kind of upfront, the bar that you're putting out there is going to be substantially higher. And maybe that is what you want, but I think it's worth deciding what are the ultimate goals of what you're trying to drive for that, because the example that you gave of maybe somebody else doesn't want that. Well, maybe somebody else doesn't also want a fracking well that's going through their backyard or going underneath that can rupture their water and then poison their water. And we've got those all over the place. We've got gas lines that are going all over the place.
We do.
And so, like, there's risk and benefits to everything that we do. Let's make sure that we're actually looking at those risk and benefits instead of just saying, here's a new thing, we're afraid of this because we don't want to look at these panels. Maybe there's something different that we can do in looking at these, or having other animals, or having stuff grazed in between them, having plants in between them. Like, there's research out there that says yields of certain plants and certain crops can be better underneath solar panels or between solar panels.
And there's some ground that's not usable that could be,
Yeah.
which is why you have the opportunity to go and take that case to the BZA.
Okay.
So
That's it.
instead of just getting you the free, if we don't have rules, then we can't say yes or no.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben.
Good points, though.
Very good points.
Next, we have Tina Glass. Do you wish to speak?
Thanks for coming.
Tony Wazik.
Yeah, I reside in Washington Township. I am part of the solar opposition, just to let you know my position going into this. But one thing in particular that I guess I would like to ask, and I'm here for listen and learn, because I don't know that Washington Township has anything like this that talks about the 50 and lower. I realize that it's a zoning issue strictly, and that, but I would just ask the question: is your proposed, or maybe it's your ordinance now? Is that in effect yet?
No, the hearing is now.
The hearing is now. and
Hearing is
you're voting on. Oh, okay.
Yep.
And I would just ask: is this going to be available, like online or anything that I can access it to take it back home? You might
Yeah,
say?
it's public document.
Yeah.
Public
Okay.
document copies.
Right.
Oh,
There you go.
okay.
There you go.
I mean, that, we haven't voted on that yet, but if we do,
Understood.
with changes possibly,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. I didn't see this.
Trust.
Yeah, and the only thing I would learn that I would say about the solar is that I believe that in Washington Township, all the adjacent property owners are not against solar. And having said that, though, there is a good bit of opposition against some of the things that are not very well defined and things to look at in the future, such as once you have a solar facility, does it expand? And that's where I think you have to be a little bit careful. I don't know this for a fact. It's some of the things I've read over the last couple of years. But if you do have a solar development in your township, adding on to it, I believe, becomes still at the state level. So if it's you got to watch that these things can tend to grow and gobble up more farmland. So there are some pitfalls that I don't believe that the state has anticipated yet. That's my opinion. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
I do agree that the state is behind, because it doesn't make sense for the state to say, we don't care what you do if you're under 50 megawatts, we only care if you're over 50 megawatts. Because there isn't much difference except for the size.
Still a very big solar field.
It is very big solar.
Very
field.
big.
And just to clarify, we're not against solar either. There's plenty of places that solar, the big ones, would fit. In fact, we have, 2 demolition sites and a landfill in our township. So there are sites where that could be appropriate. And so that's why we made it so that it wasn't a hard, fast rule, that it can be appealed to the zoning commission. And I believe one of our commission members is here tonight, so. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I meant appeals. That's where it gets appealed to. Zoning appeals. I said the wrong word, sorry. Which is where you are.
Doing clarification.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is not a perfect document. This is our start.
Starting point to work from. Next, we'll move to Judy Water.
Well, you know I'm not going to get up.
That's all right.
Since I haven't really had a chance to go through this, I really don't know your total decisions as of this point. But what you are saying is that as we learn, you may change things. Because you know, I told you before, I am not against solar. But I don't like the idea of a lot of agricultural land being used because it's gone for 50 years. They tell you 25, that's not true. If you go online, you can read both sides. You have 1,600 experts out there telling you the negatives. As far as I'm concerned, solar is something that anybody can use personally. I don't think 30% of the roof is enough myself, but that's what you were talking about. But I cannot see destroying land the way we have done in the past with mining, for instance, because man has never, ever thought it through before he started doing something. Never. And you cannot tell me that he has. The first thing you do is go home because, oh, we're gonna get energy. We've got coal, we can do everything with coal. No, we're gonna do oil because that runs everything that the solar uses. You're never going to get rid of everything per se, not because of solar or wind. Neither one of those will be viable as any more than oil. So you gotta have options. And one option is to try to keep some of our land free for agriculture. There is so much going on right now in the state of Ohio. It's scary because they are using acres and acres and acres. And I've had people online say, well, you've got this many acres, what's a few more going to mean? Those few more add up because they don't stop, they keep going. If you keep going, you won't have any production for farms. You're not gonna have livestock because you can't feed them. Who's going to eat? You're gonna eat plants like Bill Gates wants you to eat? They're already saying, do not eat that chicken, that processed chicken they make. So, no,
Everything will kill you.
I
Everything.
got it.
Everything.
That's all I have.
Eat like you're dying tomorrow because it'll all kill you.
So
Thank you.
One more thing. Is this something that can be brought up again later, once, just to have questions?
And it's something that we can look at down the road and make changes to it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not.
It can be
it's not-
amended.
It's not cement.
Many times.
It's a starting point.
Yeah.
And we're trying to look out what's best for Osnaburg Township, and we don't have a lot of stuff to look at. We're trying to,
Oh,
we're
I've got
trying to-
plenty.
well, I understand that, but I mean, we're trying to protect everybody, and everybody has rights.
Mhm.
This guy doesn't like solar, this guy doesn't like oil wells, this guy doesn't like coal, everybody doesn't like something.
Right.
And somebody might think that the oil well looks good on top of the hill, some guy might think it looks good on the bottom. You know, there's an opinion for everything. And we're trying to do what's best for our area.
Thank you. Everybody's pretty much at 5 minutes, pretty good.
Yeah.
Give or take.
That's better than what you get at the,
Yeah.
that's probably 2 and 3.
But I do agree with you on the 30%. I don't.
I would agree. I think
But-
if you're gonna make the investment in your own home and you're gonna do something like Mr. Parker presented, if you're gonna put your entire roof in a shingled solar, then it's not affecting anybody and no one knows driving by. If you can't do more than 30%, I think you may not make that investment. You know, so I wonder what the verbiage can look like for that, and maybe it's right.
So this is our hearing, and tonight we have to take a vote, but we also have the right to make a change here if we feel it needs to be changed to something different.
Okay.
This is just what the commission has said is their recommendation.
Right.
I think that they were also looking at at a commercial building too. So it's not just a house.
I don't see why there would be an issue for the entire roof. I mean, other than they gotta be able to walk around in some way.
I am not a solar expert, so I cannot answer that. This was just the original
Yeah.
guidance that came.
Yeah.
So if we want to increase that some, we can.
But it's
Though they do
still-
have the right to appeal that percentage
It
right now.
still comes before the board. So if I walked in as a resident of township, even if we adopt it as it is, and I say I want 100% of my roof, it can still be agreed upon at the board, correct?
Not at us, at the Board of
At Board of
Appeals.
Appeals. Yeah, not us.
Yes.
Board of Appeals.
Does
Correct.
anybody,
Yeah.
do you know, Ben, all right, so if you got a house, you probably can't put them on both sides.
You can't, no, you can. So it depends, it's gonna depend on what you're trying to do with your system. So for example, let's say you've got a house that faces east and west with some sections of it, and you've got another one that faces south. So the way that the sun goes across there, you're gonna have an energy curve from how the sun is. So it's gonna be higher, the eastern panels are gonna be higher when the sun comes up in the morning, and it's gonna transition to the south, which is gonna be collecting it the whole time. And then towards the evening, it'll go west. The benefits of doing something like that would be that when you have to size the inverters to capacity, you're gonna basically be able to go with a smaller inverter capacity because you're flattening out the curve that you've got, as opposed to having to go with a larger inverter capacity if you have everything facing south, because you're gonna be getting all of that sun at kind of one point in time. You're basically taking that curve and lengthening that curve out somewhat, which means that you can buy smaller inverters when you're in the other integrated systems to be able to do that. So there's pros and cons depending on what you're trying to solve. So if you want a whole bunch of batteries and you want to maximize it, then maybe you want to do all south. If you want to be able to kind of limit the amount of batteries that you've got, because those are extra costs, and you want to lengthen your solar curve and buy less inverters to have to pay for that, then you can put it on other sides of the house to be able to go there. And even if you do ground mount systems, you can do other things like bifacial systems. There's a whole bunch of other complications that it depends on what your goals are that you're trying to solve, the way you would want to design a system. And it's not going to be 100%, because even as you go through the house, you're going to have like the edges of the roof or around like the chimney or around the vents that you've got coming out. Those are not, those panels are just look-alike panels. They're not actually voltaic panels.
I will tell you now, as you're talking and I'm listening, one of the complaints was that our township is hills and valleys, we're not flat. And depending on where your house is sitting and where somebody else's house is sitting, if you put stuff on your roof, it could be causing an issue with a neighbor.
Glare.
Glare or whatever else, especially because those panels are moving. Especially if you're mounting them on a pole, they generally rotate and follow the sun.
No, so there's all kinds of different panels. That's not,
I know
like
there's
it
all
can
kinds.
be. In the house ones that you've got, that's not going to be the case. They're not reflective, because if that's what you're saying, like I can understand if they're reflective. They don't make like the house panels, they can make them so they're not reflective. It's all in the choices that you make, and maybe that is the types
true.
of things.
But if
that you
somebody
wanna
chooses to
have
go
in zoning.
cheaper, that's why this was just recommended as the starting point to kind of control someone invading, because you could be distance-wise but still be causing a problem. And that was one of the key things. The commission said they don't want to cause harm to another neighbor or disruption by something that was done here.
Mhm.
Now, the way they do, they have to go to the commission or the Board of Appeals, and they each get to say, this is what I want to do, and it won't affect my neighbor, and let your neighbor know. And if your neighbor says, okay, I'm good with it, then you're good to go. But if the neighbor, you're putting something, right behind the neighbor's house, 20, 30 feet behind their house, they're probably not going to be happy with solar. Not to say that it won't go. I'm just saying that that's why you have a Board of Appeals.
So as it's currently written, the siding and the rooftop is the 30%. And then right now, as it's written, anything ground mounted goes directly to the zoning. Yeah, okay, BZA. BZA gets anything ground mounted, no matter what the percentage.
Mhm.
Okay,
Well, I'll be 50 and down.
yeah, 50 and down, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A house
Something
system,
like that.
yeah, a house system. Okay,
I will say on most of the solar applications I get in right now for rooftop, it's around 50 to about 90% of the roof that they use.
okay.
Yeah, I think that 30% is a problem myself.
I don't know.
Huh?
I'm not an expert in this.
I don't I'm not either, but what kind of permit, what's the nut volume? Are you getting a large volume, or is it like monthly, a couple month, or?
I would say it's went down in the last couple of years. It was about 1 or 2 a month. Now I say about 1 every month, 1 every couple months.
So what would you suggest that be
Yeah.
changed to be? Or can it be completely removed and A handles it?
I've never seen, I don't know why there should be any limit, I guess. I mean, I can't, on a house or on a residential.
Residential roof.
This isn't residential though, so you could change it that,
It's 30% of commercial.
and you could raise it for residential.
You could raise the percentage for
You could do
residential.
that. I'm not sure why.
But I'm not sure that if you have a box like a Dollar General or some, why would it matter if their roof's covered?
If you were gonna do it on the, like, let's say you got a grant to do something like that here, why would it matter? Why would you not wanna do? what you
I'm
can?
not so sure that it would look terrible on their walls either. If it's done right,
Yeah.
that's not on the ground, it's not taking up anything.
Why wouldn't the percentage, you might know this, be decided, like he said, which way the roof is anyways, because of the sun?
Yeah, it depends on how it's gonna curve.
You know what I mean? What does it really matter?
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
understand.
don't know.
If somebody puts 30% on the side of a building, what's the difference between 30% or 40%?
Yeah,
It's not gonna,
yeah.
you're still looking at them, you know, I mean, it's-
Right.
Can it be something like the coverage is or aesthetically attractive or not aesthetically disruptive, or if that's your goal?
Yeah.
And I think that's really the goal, is not that, so it's not disrupting.
Yeah.
But you don't want to get into an opinion, well, what does disrupting mean? I don't like the way it looks. You know, you don't want to leave that open. If somebody say, I just don't like the way it looks.
And that says as applicable, so.
but I think if the way this is right now, you're gonna have, every application's gonna go through that BZA, because 30% is not very big.
And is that what the committee wants, is to see most of it in front of them, or not necessarily?
I think on a pole they do, but not on a rooftop. They're-
Okay.
Rooftop, they didn't seem to have an
Okay.
issue with it.
Well, and just looking at the basic facts, if you're saying as our zoning inspector that most people that come through are looking at 50 to 90% coverage, they're gonna see every house system, right? Or most house systems. If it's worth putting solar on your house, you're not gonna put 3 panels up, right?
So we could
I think
remove
70% would be,
well, we could remove it if you wanted to. And then as we see what comes through, if it becomes an issue, put something back in.
I'm good with that.
Tony?
Yeah, is there any way to find out whoever authored this for you to get a reason for that particular restriction? Whether there's a structural issue, whether there's a weather-related, wind-related issue, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I
I'm just
understand,
asking
yeah,
If it would be a better deal to
yeah,
get some background information on how this was developed
right.
before you make a final decision on what that end
Yeah,
use is going to be. And maybe there's somebody who's got some insight into it that's
yeah.
got more than just speculation.
Well, if that went to a 70, like you said, then the BZA is probably gonna see a lot less hearings. And then, like Ben said, if someone's gonna use every inch of their roof or close to it, then they would come to the board and say, hey, I'm gonna use 90% of that roof. And then the board would have to agree to that, but then there's still some limitations, so it's not just wide open.
Yeah.
That could be a possibility.
And to answer your question, it's a zoning attorney for the state of Ohio. I wouldn't say they're an expert in solar. They were just coming up with beginning guidelines for across the state. I don't know that they're gonna have any backing really or any knowledge. I can't say that. And it's not an attorney that we can reach out to. So we don't know what attorney they use to do that with. So they just sent a template. This is a guidance for you to start. So if you want to change it to 70, we can do that. If we see it's not working, we can go
Mhm.
back
Yeah.
and revise it.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to adjust it as we go, but I think at the 30 mark, with all the knowledge we're seeing here today, the BZA is gonna see most of these come in front of them. And I don't think that was really what they
Well, I'm gonna
intended.
guess,
No.
yeah, and
They don't wanna see them all. I mean, they're hoping that you're gonna sign off on.
if somebody puts solar
Most of
on their
these.
house, their goal is to eliminate their electric.
Yeah,
And-
or close to it.
If they're coming in at 50 to 90, 30% is not gonna eliminate their electric. And
No,
then now they're,
no. I'd be fine at the 70 or 75 mark, and then we can see how the verbiage looks and if we decide it. So how, do we amend it? Do we amend
We have
that?
to amend this
Okay,
Does
to
it
whatever
go,
we want it
does
to.
it go back to the
No.
zoning?
we can amend and vote, correct?
And
Don't the vocabulary have to go back in front of the board?
No,
This would be the final decision on,
So the trustees could amend this any way they
Yes.
want.
mhm.
And at that point, does it get approved at the next meeting? Because we
No,
have
it
to
gets
have it
approved
recorded.
tonight.
What's
It gets
that?
we are the approval.
Well,
this is the final.
I mean, to see to me, you're either taking it out or you're just going to change that percentage just so that it gets recorded properly.
Well, why don't I make a motion on the change, or do we
Okay.
need to approve it first and then amend the change?
No, we need to amend the document
Okay,
and then we vote. And once we
All right.
approve, it's done. She makes the physical change in the document and then she
Okay.
sends the final version back to regional planning.
okay,
And then she'll send the final version back to the commission.
all right.
We have a deadline on when it needs to be recorded, so it's all legit to make it good. I just want to make sure we meet all those deadlines
Correct.
of everything they're going to do here.
According to this amendment procedure, so tonight we're having our hearing. There is under the trustee board of action, under the decision part, the trustees must make a decision within 20 days after the hearing.
That's what
So,
So if the resolution tonight to accept it with this modification, they can still, it's 20 days,
Up to 20 days.
up to
Well,
20
we
days.
can't vote on it then tonight.
You have to make the change.
We have to
That's-
make our change.
That's where I'm getting, you make the changes, you don't vote tonight, and then you approve those changes at a later time, or is it
Okay.
how, I want to make sure we.
But if we have
that
20
right.
days, then it's a later time.
It's only 20 days, so if we're gonna make the change, we might as well vote on it then. why delay it for another meeting? Because if we find we want something different, we suggest it to the commission, they go back and look at revising the rules.
So we make the change, we vote on it, and then if there's something else we want to change on the road, that's when we would
Tell
give
the
them
commission.
advisement to go look and look at it.
Because this will be recorded and then put in the zoning book. Then it'll be like your rules from now until another change or something.
Correct.
Okay. Just make sure, Mary, when you
Okay,
do this, to get it to me, to make sure it's recorded in the proper time. That's very important. Because if we're behind on that or delay, it's no good. We have to
Correct,
start
we have
all
to
over.
start over.
all right, I'd like to make a motion. Trustee Varian makes a motion to amend the current the current OS 1-22424, excuse me, under the general requirements C1 under section B currently states coverage on an integrated or rooftop solar energy system shall cover no more than 30% of the structure's walls and or roof as applicable. My motion would be to change the percentage to 70%.
Trustee Griffith seconds that?
Roll call,
Griffith,
Yes.
Varian,
Yes.
Hero.
yes.
And then as we become more knowledgeable, if we find out other things, we can change, ask the commission to look into it and change whatever they feel works best.
Is there anything else in here that anybody has?
Regional planning recommended a lot of these items too, but
Yeah, regional planning, it's been before regional planning,
yes.
Yep.
And it fit their template too,
and
but
they made some changes, sent it back.
anybody else have any questions on that? If you read through that and find that there's some things that we should know, let us know.
Still think you got a landmine out there with the bond issue.
That was an issue with the commission because they don't want to see a site abandoned with not enough to clean it back up.
Makes sense. I think you've got some processes that you've got to figure out with that.
Yeah.
That's a landmine sitting out there.
So that'll be something that we should look at. We'll make a note on that one. Well, and I will tell you, we ran into a problem here ourselves with the strip mine ground, and their bond was on it, but it wasn't enough to cover. Over time, that's what happens.
Inflation hit and it didn't cover it.
No, it's no different than the problems we've had with houses that aren't insured correctly, that burn. They gotta be cleaned up, tore down, and somebody gotta pay for it. And
Yeah.
that's the problem, is you get something and then 20 years down the road it fails. Who's paying for it to clean it up?
Yeah, and we're actually stuck doing it with public money then.
Yeah, I do hear what you're saying. These things should still be revenue generating. Like even if they're 20, 30, 40 years old, like the stuff that's that old right now is still producing at 75% of its initial capacity from a generation standpoint. So as long as the electric company is willing to keep pulling electricity, you should be making something off of it to have revenue. It may not cover everything, but
In theory.
Residual income back to the townships, what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
On a big one.
I mean, and I assume that's what this is talking about because it's a small solar energy system.
Yeah,
That's the less than 50 megawatts.
yeah, no bonds on like personal property.
No.
It would only be,
Yeah, but you're assuming that the township inherited the ground. If the township doesn't own the ground, they ain't gonna get no residuals.
No, we're not getting any money out.
I'm just saying, there's a lot more to that one. That's why.
All right.
Just curious, are they telling you in Washington Township that this land that's gonna be in large solar is gonna benefit Washington Township?
If you're talking about Samsung, they espouse the financial benefits that are a fixed amount. If you go with what they call a pilot program, payment in lieu of tax, that is a fixed amount. And of course, after 40, and it's 40 years is what they're looking at. What does $1 million a year mean in 40 years? As
Okay.
we've just seen some inflation eat up value of our money, it's going to dwindle greatly. The other way that they provide money for the school system and the township is via the property assessment, meaning the value of the equipment and all. And that has depreciation in it.
Sure.
So it depreciates over time also. So it's a diminishing benefit to the township and to the school system.
Is the school system gonna see some money from that?
Only if the commissioners agree to a pilot system.
I was gonna say, because,
Because Marlington needs some.
yeah,
They need
Margaret
some.
is looking for a roof on high school.
Yeah,
so-
Yeah, they're looking for asbestos in Lexington and, you name it.
they would have to be making special concessions with that tax dollars in order for it to hit back to the school or hit the township, or, because even if we had a levy on, we don't get any additional, the amount that we're, so that's why I'm not quite getting how you're saying they're gonna get additional funding. Is that something that
They're going through what they call a pilot system. It's kind of a complicated
Okay.
system.
so their
And
system
again, it
is
has
gonna
to be
give them
agreed to
additional?
by the commissioners. But they being Samsung, and I don't know which revised code or administrative code law it is, but there's a set amount per megawatt hour, set amount per megawatt capacity, generating capacity. And that goes by $9,000 per megawatt capacity per year is what is generated, given to the commissioners.
Is that the over 50 megawatt?
That's over 50.
So that's what's in the state rules, and
That's
so,
all state rules, and then, but
okay,
then the commissioners at some point can also decide not to distribute all of that.
So it goes to the
It's complicated and goes on and on and on.
Yeah, okay.
It's
so
not
what
as
we're talking
rosy.
about is less than 15, there's
Yeah,
no state
yeah.
rules.
And I think that, I don't know this for sure, but I think you negotiate that.
With the company, you probably could,
Yes.
something.
Yeah, I understand. Well, thank you for, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a lot of working parts, but I appreciate your time on that. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
You can stay and be bored by some of the other stuff, or you feel free to go. Whatever you'd like. We never want to kick you out by any
Thank
means.
you for.
Stay as long as you'd like.
And
Thank
thank you for
Yeah.
divulging all this
Yeah,
information. to us.
absolutely.
That's really why we came.
Yeah,
It's
great.
a beginning template.
Yeah.
You can opt your classes.
We're gonna take a vote. We need a motion.
You want to vote on it now?
Might need
Yeah.
that.
I said,
Thank you.
get it done.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
I'm gonna go once I can get
You take your time. You're fine. You take your time.
Offer a can, is kind of what it is.
Actually, I have an issue that way too. I've got
We go to the big
myself,
vote because it accepts it.
and I can't do anything with it.
You voted to change it now.
Change it.
Now,
Look,
I
it's
just
up
looked a few
Wow.
times and I'm in pure head.
Trustee Bureau moves to, what?
You can't do search.
Trustee Bureau moves to accept the, what do I use for?
Oh, it's OS.
OS Number one, 2024 amendments to the zoning for solar.
Trustee Varian second.
Roll call.
Griffith,
Yes.
Varian,
Yes.
Piru.
Yes.
So it was amended and then it was voted on. All right.
All right. We're gonna go back to the road for 1 second. There is a Stark County Sheriff's Office has a 2024 CDL Commercial Drivers Refresher Course.
There's no cost to us.
It does cost us nothing. It's
Oh, wow.
June 17,
That's nice.
8 AM. That's next Monday.
Next Monday, yeah. Me and Mike Wheeler's gonna go.
Oh, good.
Rodney will be on vacation, so.
Okay.
It's mainly for CDL. Bernie doesn't have a CDL, so
All right.
Great.
the two of us are gonna go up to it.
Perfect.
There's a lot of other,
We like free classes.
there's a lot of other surrounding townships that are gonna go. Sandy, Pike.
Good.
I think Perry, a whole bunch of different townships are gonna be there, so it'll probably be a good thing. Deputy
Who's
Newman's
gonna,
putting
are
it
you,
on.
did you already RSVP?
No,
No,
It has to be RSVP by 13th.
13th. That's Wednesday. No, it's not. Thursday.
okay,
All right. Very good.
thank you.
Now we'll go to zoning.
Since the last meeting, just had the money for the hearings come in. The one for the ag exemption was canceled. He got rid of the goat, so that he decided not to go forward with that.
Okay.
The one for the 2 houses on 1 parcel was approved. And it is supposed to be for the father-in-law to live in, and so they can take care of him.
Okay. Is there a timeline on that or is it approved indefinitely?
They just didn't put a time.
Okay. Sounds good.
You said they put a timeline on
Mm-hmm.
it? But if the father-in-law doesn't live there anymore, then it's void.
Oh, is that right? He has to
'Cause
reside,
that's
he has to
different.
reside in the house?
You can't turn into a rental.
Okay.
As far as nuisances go, not listed on here, but I did get a message from the Big Mike gentleman, and Justin's light is still shining across there.
Is this the
So,
ones that came a long time
This is
ago?
17th Street.
mhm.
Do we need to send a letter?
Or if you got a phone number, I'd call them or something.
Okay.
As far as new goes, over on Clearhaven, it would be I believe Campbell, who just got a permit for the ag exemption.
Okay.
On his property, I had a complaint about work vehicles parking up there, the employees coming and going on that, since it's a small dead end road. And just using the property for business purposes.
Okay. So he called and asked questions before he purchased the business.
Mhm.
And our response to him was, as long as there's not a sign out front, and you're not bringing customers down that road, you're allowed to park whatever you want on that property. So we might need to call that complaint back and say he has the right to be there.
And another part of that was he was putting up a building. I'm
Okay.
not sure if that was the
Part of
ag
it?
building.
Okay.
I was gonna double check on that.
One small chicken in the corner and the rest is full of business. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's more of something you could look at then.
Yeah. That just came in last week, so I haven't done anything with it. I just got that.
Okay.
About those 2 buildings put up without a permit, I did email the prosecutor's office. I haven't heard back yet, but see what they say. And
Is that sunlight also?
Okay. See,
Are we trying to figure out if we can just attach it to their
We
We
can.
can't.
We're not allowed to put it on their tax.
What about lien? I mean, at least we can get it off this paperwork
We could do that.
because it can't go on forever.
Yeah,
If we just put a lien.
that's
on it.
that question, if we have the right to do that. I don't know, just burning their title.
Yeah,
Sindel, I know the health department gentleman that was here at the last meeting was gonna give him a call,
Oh, yeah.
escalate and talk to them.
Yeah.
I didn't have a chance to look at it before the meeting, but I know he was gonna reach out to them. And then Mitty, I haven't seen any change yet. Campers back in the woods is kind of hard to see.
You didn't go back there, did you? Okay.
So that's where I'm at on nuisances right now. As far as the commission goes, they are meeting till September.
So then we also want to make note that one of our zoning commission members, Rosemary Knoll, passed away unexpectedly. And so we don't have a resignation, but we do need to acknowledge that she will not be on the committee moving forward. And then, how many do you have on there still? You had an alternate.
There
didn't you?
is 5 on that board now.
Still, so that alternate will move in. So I don't know, Brian, do we need a motion for that or anything, or?
Are you gonna make the alternate that spot? You would need a motion if you're just gonna let the alternate fill in
I
that
think-
spot.
I think we'd have to talk to the alternate first to make sure that they want. Do you need anything to note that she's not on the committee anymore then or not?
Yes.
So I guess I'll make a motion that we recognize that Rosemary Knoll is now deceased, and so she's moving off that committee as of today, we'll say, June 10th.
Trustee Varian, second.
all those in favor, aye.
Aye. Sorry to hear that.
Over on the Board of Zoning Appeals side, like I said, we had those 2 hearings, which the one was canceled. The only upcoming thing that I can think of would be the American landfill, their annual hearing. On that board, we did get a resignation from Chris Griffith due to commitments between family and the board. She wouldn't be able to put in what she would feel would be necessary for it. So she did send me a resignation.
So how many does that leave on that group then?
There would be 4 on that board then,
Do we need to find another one there?
at least 1.
Okay.
Look for a job,
Pardon?
looking for a job, part-time.
How much
Okay.
part-time?
It's very, very hard time.
Couple hours?
Cool.
Maybe.
I'll have to make a motion. I'll have to abstain from that
Oh, okay, yes. Chris Griffith, correct? Okay. Varian would like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Chris Griffith off of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Off of the Board of Zoning Appeals effective today, June 10th.
Trustee Puro seconds, roll call.
Griffith,
one. I abstain.
Varian,
Yes.
and Piro.
Yes. We can hire you right now.
We can argue, right?
We'll have to discuss it, okay? So I know what we're talking about.
So I know what I'm getting myself into.
It's
I'd like to
$30
know
a
that
meeting.
first.
$30 a meeting. If you drive a fuel-efficient car, you might make
Yeah,
a little
you
money.
pay.
If you drive a big car, you're not gonna make any money.
Oh, that's okay. I'd like to get involved now.
Well, we have 2 open seats at least.
Yeah.
2.
One on the rule makers and one on the Board of Zoning Appeals that hears.
I think I would need an explanation of what is required.
Mary can do
Yeah,
that.
Mary can help you with that.
There's a candidate, Mary, don't let her
Yeah,
go.
don't let her leave. And it's nice to know. It's nice to know what's going on in the community too. I mean,
Actually,
yeah, you know what's going on in the.
yes,
It's
and
nice.
I am aware of what she was talking about because of being here previously.
Yeah,
And I was interested because I wanted to know what happened.
yeah.
For how many meetings a year is it?
PCA meets, it depends on if something comes up, I say roughly 4 times a year, if that.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah. It's not a lot, but I mean, some years they meet more. It just depends on what's in front of them.
And the commission probably meets twice that. They probably meet 8 or 9
8
times.
times, 8, 9 times.
I'd be interested.
Good. Be great.
Which
We'd love to
one?
have you.
She'd like to
Are you
hear
sure
more
about
about
that?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Are you sure?
I can be very opinionated.
That's okay.
No, everyone should have their own opinion. I agree.
Well, Mary will tell you all about it when we're
Okay.
down here.
I'll talk with her.
Well, she doesn't know which one she wants.
All right.
She's got to hear about it.
All right. Old Township business approval to release payment to Village of East Canton for 2023, 27,401.35. So moved. Trustee P. Rose.
Second, Griffith.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye. Did we not do that last meeting?
I was hoping somebody would ask.
We did
Look
that
at
last
the
meeting.
date. Look at the date.
The trustees, at the last meeting, we approved the $33,147 that went to the village for the first half of last year's taxes.
Okay.
What happened is that John, when I asked last year in October, he didn't send me it right then, and it kind of got forgotten,
Oh, okay.
of the second half of 22 that needed to be paid in 23.
Okay.
What you just approved, that is, as I dated, the 2023, that when Kurt Geis, the fiscal officer, I called him, I said, aren't you guys missing some money? And he goes,
Oh,
it's funny you brought that up.
Gotcha.
He said, you
So we
can
just
pay it.
did.
Yeah, we owed
okay.
this. We actually owed this at the end of the year.
Okay.
And because of both the county and when I got the information, I just got it when we got that second, or the first payment request. It never came up until then. I knew we had too much money there. Because,
Right.
and that's why I questioned it, and that's what we found out.
Okay.
Suco's part.
I got a phone call from Chris Kopp, K-O-P-P, township resident. Had a bunch of questions about Sucos, and so we are starting to get questions. I know Fiscal Officer Lowry had a couple voicemails. Is that correct? A couple people interested.
They wanted information, what your all plans were. I invited them to meetings.
Okay.
I opened the door to answer any question, how we got to this point. Some people don't understand, they just don't understand what's going on. Some people do. They had some ideas, and I told them to discuss with you trustees, come to meetings and discuss that, because it's in a working stage right now.
Chris Kopp would like to be involved in any committee. He said he'd like to be involved in that if we put together a committee to work for it. So that's good. We've got residents interested. His other question, which I didn't really know how to answer because I thought it was an interesting question. He said, because it's owned by the township, am I allowed to walk around on it?
Do we know yet that we have the full insurance on it?
At Tarma, we have liability insurance on any of our people or workers that go up there to work. Like if you're going up there to walk around or you guys are there. Right now, the liability insurance on the Huntington Bank side, they do cover just what they have on walking around. But as we develop, we have to look at other alternative insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say at this point, though, we shouldn't have anybody in there walking.
I told him
Yeah.
no for now until we make sure that we're insured. What
Well,
were you
we
gonna say?
are going, as long as we have a tenant to the ground, we better have some signs that, before we have people
Yeah.
walking all over.
Right.
And
So, and I explained kind of where we were, that we had gotten a PIN survey and that is done, and we're, got the sign up and that is done, and, we've got an appraisal on the property, just so we have it. Kind of explained to him how the property was laid out a bit, because he had all kinds of questions, so.
We probably need to reach out to Shearing's office to see if we received any of that capital bill
Oh, yeah, you're right.
for the township, because I think
That
they're
should have
coming.
been,
Well, they did the incentive money, but we were getting it from the regular state capital, because they have to give some
What
money
did
to
they
the
say?
township.
grant,
Hmm?
this is the grant,
yeah, it was grant money.
it's approved.
No, we don't know.
don't
We
know.
need
We
to
don't
find
know.
out.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
'Cause that's
I thought
why
it was
we're
mid-
waiting.
I thought it was mid-June is when they were gonna tell
They did,
people. but
they
I-
did the incentive money, but not the regular capital bill. We're in the regular capital bill.
All right.
At least I haven't heard.
That's all I have for Sukos.
I got nothing else. Something else.
Trustee Barry moves to adjourn and pay bills and go home.
Griffith seconds.
All in favor, aye?
Aye. Thank you.
So, Mary, you have a minute to.